The grand chamber of the Galactic Council stretched across 3 kilometers of polished crystal. Representatives from 847 species sat in their designated sections, their forms as varied as the stars themselves. Some breathed methane, others plasma. Some existed as clouds of organized particles, while others were simple flesh and bone like the Valorians who currently held the floor. Ambassador Krethak stood at the central podium, his forearms spread wide in a gesture of dismissal. His scales shimmered under the artificial lights as he activated the holographic display. A small blue planet appeared, rotating slowly in the empty space above the delegates. Earth, Krethak announced, his voice translator carrying his words to every species present. The 3rd planet of a minor yellow star, home to the species that calls itself humanity. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Most delegates had never heard of this world. It existed in a quiet corner of the galaxy, far from the major trade routes and political centers. We have monitored this planet for 200 cycles, Krethak continued. The creatures there have achieved basic spaceflight. They have built stations around their own planet. They have even landed on their natural satellite. He paused for effect. But they remain trapped in their own star system. No faster than light travel. No quantum communication. They are primitives. A delegate from the Crystalline Consortium spoke up, her voice chiming like bells. Have they achieved fusion power? Yes, Krethak admitted. But barely. Their drives are crude, inefficient. They have sent small probes to the edge of their system, but nothing more. They are children playing with fire, another voice called out from the upper tiers. What of their culture? Their technology? Surely they have something of value. Krethak's laugh was harsh. They are divided into hundreds of factions. They fight among themselves over resources, over ideas, over invisible lines drawn on their planet's surface. They broadcast their conflicts into space for all to hear. They have no unity, no purpose beyond their own small world. The hologram changed, showing images captured by long-range observation drones. Human cities, crude spacecraft, primitive weapons. The footage was decades old, but the Council didn't know that. They saw what they expected to see. Another backward species barely worthy of notice. I propose, Krethak said, his voice growing stronger, that we classify Earth as a resource world. The Valorian Empire will take responsibility for managing the system. We will extract the minerals from their asteroid belt, harvest the gas giants, and relocate the humans to a suitable reservation world. They will be cared for, of course. We are not monsters. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some species objected on principle, others saw profit. The debate lasted for 3 hours, with delegates arguing over rights, ethics, and economics. But in the end, the vote was clear. The Valorian Empire was granted control of the Sol system. Humanity would be managed like any other primitive species discovered by the great and powerful Galactic Union. Krethak stood at the podium, accepting congratulations from his supporters. He had won a great prize for his empire, a whole star system, rich with resources inhabited by creatures too simple to defend themselves. It was almost too easy. What Krethak didn't know was that Earth had stopped broadcasting 50 years ago. The radio signals the Council had studied were old, carefully preserved recordings that humanity had left on repeat. The images of primitive technology were deliberate misdirection. While the Galactic Union watched and laughed, humanity had been very, very busy. In the silence of the Sol system, humans had learned to hide. 3 months after the Council vote, Admiral Throck led a fleet of 300 Valorian warships into Earth's system. The jump from faster-than-light travel was smooth and precise. His fleet emerged near the system's outer planets, ready to announce their presence and begin the conquest. Throck was a veteran commander. He had overseen the integration of 17 primitive worlds into the Empire. He knew the pattern well. First came the show of force, then the negotiations, then the inevitable surrender when the primitives realized how outmatched they were. It was boring work, but it had to be done. Full sensor sweep, Throck ordered from his command throne. Locate their population centers. Find their ships. I want a complete tactical picture within the hour. The crew worked efficiently. Sensors probed the system, searching for human civilization. Minutes passed. Then an hour. Then 2. The sensor officer turned to face Throck, her expression confused. Admiral, we are detecting very little activity. The 3rd planet shows minimal power signatures. No orbital defenses. No fleet presence. No communications, Throck frowned. Are they hiding? Unknown, sir. We are detecting cities on the surface, but they appear dark, inactive, as if abandoned. Show me. The main view screen lit up with images of Earth. The blue planet hung in space, beautiful and seemingly peaceful. But as the sensors focused on the surface, Throck saw what his officer meant. The great cities humanity had built were there, but they showed no lights. No energy signatures, no signs of life. What about their satellites? Their space stations? Still present, Admiral. But they are dormant. No power, no crew. They are just floating metal. Throck stood from his throne, his mind racing. Had humanity destroyed itself? Had some plague wiped them out in the years since the last observation? It seemed unlikely, but what else could explain this? Take us in, he ordered. Prepare landing parties. We need to know what happened here. The fleet moved through the system, approaching Earth with caution. Throck expected a trap, some primitive ambush, but nothing came. The planet remained silent. The moon was empty. The orbital stations were dead shells. Landing parties descended to the surface. They found cities built for millions, now empty. They found roads and buildings and parks, all abandoned. In some places, they found underground facilities that had been stripped clean. Every piece of equipment removed, every data core erased. It was as if humanity had simply packed up and left. But where had they gone? And more importantly, how? The Council's data said humans had no faster-than-light capability. They should have been trapped in this system, unable to leave even if they wanted to. Admiral Throck stood in the ruins of what had once been a human command center. His soldiers had found it buried beneath a mountain, its entrance carefully concealed. Now it was empty, just like everything else. They knew we were coming, Throck said softly. Somehow they knew. His second officer nodded. Should we claim the system anyway, Admiral? The resources are still here. The planets, the asteroids, the gas giants. All of it, Throck considered. The mission had been to conquer humanity and claim their system. The system was here. The humans were not. By the letter of his orders, he could claim victory and begin mining operations. Send word to the Council, Throck said. Tell them we have secured the system. Begin resource extraction operations. Focus on the asteroid belt. We will prove the value of this conquest. For 3 weeks, the Valorian fleet worked in peace. Mining ships tore apart asteroids. Refineries processed ore. Transport vessels prepared to carry materials back to the Empire. Throck began to relax. Whatever had happened to humanity, they were gone. The system was his. Then on the 22nd day, the sensors detected something impossible. A gravity well was forming at the edge of the system. Something massive was approaching. Something that shouldn't exist. Throck rushed to the command deck. Report. Unknown contact, Admiral. Mass readings are off the scale. It is larger than our biggest dreadnought, but we are detecting no engine signature, no heat bloom, no energy readings at all. That is impossible. Nothing can move through space without generating heat or energy. Check your instruments. Instruments are functioning normally, sir. The contact is real. It is just silent. Throck stared at the sensor display, watching as the unknown contact moved closer. A cold feeling settled in his chest. Something was very wrong. The humans hadn't run away. They had been waiting. The gravity well grew stronger with each passing hour. Admiral Throck paced his command deck while his crew frantically analyzed the approaching contact. Every sensor showed the same impossible readings. Something massive was moving through space without any visible means of propulsion. Distance? Throck demanded. 18 million kilometers in closing, Admiral. Current speed suggests arrival in 6 hours. Can you identify it yet? The sensor officer shook her head. Negative, sir. Visual observation is impossible. The object seems to absorb all active scanning. Passive sensors only detect the gravitational distortion it creates. It is like trying to see a shadow in the dark. Throck's scales rippled with unease. In his 40 years of military service, he had never encountered anything like this. The Galactic Union had catalogued millions of ships, stations, and stellar phenomena. This matched none of them. Could it be a natural object? A rogue planet? No, Admiral. The trajectory is too precise. It is under intelligent control. Then raise shields. Bring all weapons to ready status. If this is some kind of human trick, we will be prepared. The Valorian fleet shifted into defensive formation. 300 warships, each carrying enough firepower to glass a planet, arranged themselves in overlapping protective layers. Throck felt more confident. Whatever was coming, it would find no easy targets here. Below, on Earth's surface, the landing parties continued their exploration. One team, led by Science Officer Jenth, had discovered something interesting in the ruins of a facility in the Northern Hemisphere. The building had been marked with symbols in human language. Translation software identified it as a place called Cheyenne Mountain. "Admiral, you need to see this." Jenth's voice crackled over the communication channel. "I am somewhat busy, Science Officer." "Can it wait?" "No, sir. I think I know where the humans went." Throck felt a chill run through him. "Explain." "This facility was not a military base, Admiral. It was an observation post. We found the remains of massive sensor arrays, communication equipment, quantum computers. They were watching something. Watching and recording. Recording what? Us, sir. The Galactic Union. We found data fragments showing council broadcasts, diplomatic channels, trade route information. This facility was collecting intelligence on every major power in the galaxy. They have been listening to our communications for decades." Throck's mind raced. "That is impossible. Human technology cannot intercept quantum communications across interstellar distances. Perhaps our intelligence on human technology was wrong, sir." The words hung in the air. Throck remembered the council session, remembered Krethak's confident presentation. They had all seen the footage of primitive human spacecraft, their crude fusion drives, their limited range. But what if that footage had been fake? What if humanity had wanted to appear weak? "Jenth, what else did you find?" "Manufacturing records, sir. Production schedules for something called stellar drive components and quantum displacement matrices. I do not recognize the technology. Neither does our database. Send me everything you found immediately." As the data flowed to his command console, Throck studied it carefully. The fragments were frustratingly incomplete, but they painted a picture that made his blood run cold. Humanity hadn't been confined to their system. They had left. They had gone somewhere else, somewhere the Galactic Union had never thought to look. "Admiral." The tactical officer's voice was sharp with urgency. "The contact is changing course. It is moving directly toward us in time to intercept." 90 minutes, sir." Throck made a decision. "Send a message to the Galactic Council. Full report on everything we have found. Include Science Officer Jenth's data. Mark it Priority Alpha. Sir, that will take days to reach them. I am aware. Send it anyway. I want a record of what we discovered here." The minutes crawled by. Throck's crew maintained their stations, weapons primed, shields at maximum. The unknown contact drew closer. At 50,000 kilometers, the fleet's visual sensors finally captured something. It was a ship. But unlike any ship in the known galaxy, the vessel measured 15 kilometers from bow to stern, shaped like a blade designed to cut through reality itself. Its hull was absolute black, not painted but seemingly made of darkness-given form. No light showed on its surface. No engine glow marked its stern. It simply existed in space, moving with purpose and grace. "Open all communication channels," Throck ordered. "All languages, all frequencies. Tell them to identify themselves." The communications officer worked for several minutes. "No response, Admiral." "They are receiving our transmissions, but they are not answering." The black ship continued to approach. At 10,000 kilometers, it stopped. Just stopped, as if inertia was a suggestion rather than a law of physics. 3 hours of silence followed. Throck considered firing a warning shot, but something held him back. This ship had done nothing aggressive. It simply watched them as they watched it. Then, without warning, every communication system in the Valorian fleet activated simultaneously. A voice spoke in perfect Valorian, without accent or translation lag. "You came to take our home. We have been waiting." Throck grabbed the communication console. "I am Admiral Throck of the Valorian Empire, commanding this fleet under the authority of the Galactic Council. Identify yourself immediately." There was a pause. When the voice returned, it carried a hint of something that might have been amusement. "I am Captain Sarah Chen of the United Human Stellar Vessel Prometheus. You are trespassing in our system. You have dismantled our asteroids. You have occupied our planet. Explain yourself." Throck felt his confidence surge. So humans were behind this after all. One ship, no matter how strange, could not stand against his fleet. The Galactic Council has granted this system to the Valorian Empire. Humanity is classified as a primitive species in need of management. You will surrender your vessel and accept relocation to a suitable world. This is not negotiable." Another pause. "Longer this time. Admiral Throck, we have studied your species for 50 years. We know your weapon systems. We know your tactics. We know your politics, your economy, your military doctrine. We have listened to every broadcast your civilization has made. We have analyzed your wars, your peace treaties, your trade agreements. The voice grew colder. You know nothing about us. The information you have is 50 years out of date. We let you see what we wanted you to see. While you expanded across the galaxy, we went in a different direction. We stopped talking and started listening. We stopped exploring outward and started exploring inward. Into physics you have not discovered. Into technologies you cannot imagine. You speak boldly for someone commanding a single ship, Throck retorted. I have 300 warships. Surrender now or we will take your vessel by force. Admiral, the human captain's voice was almost sad now. We did not build the Prometheus to conquer. We built it to defend, to protect our home from people exactly like you. People who see something beautiful and want to take it. People who see intelligence and call it primitive because it does not match their own. Enough talk, Throck snarled. You have 1 minute to power down your weapons and prepare for boarding. After that, we will destroy you. We gave you a chance to leave with dignity, Captain Chen said. You chose violence, very well. Let me show you what desperate humans can build when they have 50 years of silence and something to protect. The communication cut off. Throck smiled grimly. He had dealt with defiant primitives before. They always broke when they saw real power. All ships target the human vessel. Fire on my command. But before he could give the order, his sensor officer cried out in alarm. Admiral, energy readings from the human ship are spiking. Levels are beyond anything in our database. The black ship began to glow. Not with light, but with something else. Something that made Throck's eyes hurt to look at. Space around the vessel began to ripple and fold as if reality itself was bending. What is happening? Throck demanded. Unknown, sir. Gravitational readings are fluctuating wildly. It is like the ship is creating its own physics. The Prometheus moved. It didn't accelerate. It didn't turn. It simply ceased to be in one location and appeared in another, 500 kilometers closer to the fleet. No time elapsed. No energy trail marked its path. It just moved. Impossible, Throck whispered. The human ship's voice returned, filling every speaker in the fleet. You wanted to see what we built in the silence. Watch carefully. You will want to remember this when you report back to your council. And then the battle began. Admiral Throck gripped his command throne as the human ship moved again. One instant it was 500 kilometers away. The next instant it stood among his fleet, positioned perfectly between 3 of his largest dreadnoughts. No ship should move like that. Physics did not allow it. All weapons fire at will. Throck roared. The Valorian fleet opened fire. Energy beams that could melt mountains lanced through space. Missiles capable of cracking moons launched by the hundreds. Plasma cannons that had leveled cities unleashed their fury. All of it converged on the black ship called Prometheus. None of it touched the target. The energy beams bent around the human vessel, curving away as if striking an invisible sphere. The missiles approached and simply stopped, hanging motionless in space before falling away. The plasma dissipated into harmless radiation. The ship sat untouched in the center of a storm of violence, protected by something the Valorians could not see or understand. Quantum shielding, the tactical officer gasped. They are manipulating space-time itself around their hull. Our weapons are not missing. They are not reaching the same physical location. Then switch to kinetic rounds. Fire mass drivers! Nothing can bend solid matter. The fleet obeyed. Tungsten slugs the size of buildings accelerated to relativistic speeds. These were simple weapons, ancient in principle but devastating in practice. Solid matter could not be fooled by energy tricks. The human ship flickered. That was the only word for it. It became transparent for a fraction of a second, and the tungsten rounds passed through empty space where it had been. Then it was solid again, completely unharmed. They are phasing out of normal space, the science officer reported, her voice shaking. Moving into a quantum state where physical matter cannot interact with them. Throck could not believe what he was seeing. This went against everything the Galactic Union knew about physics. Ships could not phase through solid matter. Shields could not bend energy at will. One vessel could not stand against 300, yet here it stood. Captain Chen, Throck spoke into the communication system, his pride momentarily forgotten. What are you? What did you do to yourselves? The human's voice returned, calm and measured. We did not change ourselves, Admiral. We changed our understanding. While your civilization spread across the galaxy, you followed the same paths, the same physics, The same limits. You found faster-than-light travel and thought you had conquered distance. You found quantum communication and thought you had conquered time. The Prometheus moved again, appearing at the edge of the fleet formation. One of Throck's battle cruisers tried to intercept it. The massive warship turned to bring its weapons to bear. The human ship did something impossible. A sphere of distorted space expanded from the Prometheus, engulfing the battle cruiser. Throck watched in horror as his ship began to compress, not from outside pressure, but from gravity itself turning inward. The battlecruiser's shields flared and failed. Its hull groaned and buckled. In seconds, a vessel that had taken 10 years to build was crushed into a sphere of compacted metal, no larger than a shuttlecraft. The distorted space vanished. The compressed wreckage drifted slowly, leaking atmosphere and bodies into the void. "You explore the galaxy," Captain Chen continued, her voice still eerily calm. "We explored the universe. While you traveled between stars, we traveled between dimensions. While you studied planets, we studied the fabric of reality. You asked what we are, Admiral. We are what happens when a species stops looking outward and starts looking deeper." 3 more Valorian ships fired at the Prometheus. The human vessel did not dodge. Instead, it seemed to pull space toward itself. The energy beams curved, redirected by gravity manipulation, and struck the ships that had fired them. 2 exploded immediately. The 3rd tumbled away, engines dead, crew desperately transmitting distress signals. "Ceasefire," Throck commanded. "All ships cease fire immediately." The fleet obeyed, but the damage was done. In less than 10 minutes, the humans had destroyed or disabled 15 warships without taking a single hit. The Valorian fleet, pride of the Empire, was being dismantled by a single enemy vessel. "We built the Prometheus in the dark spaces between galaxies," Captain Chen explained, and now Throck could hear something in her voice. Not anger, not pride, weariness. "We took our colony ships and went where you never thought to look. The voids between spiral arms, the empty spaces where no stars shine. We found things there, Admiral. Remnants of civilization so old your empire would be considered newborn. Technology left behind by species who ascended or died, or simply moved on to other realities." Another ship appeared beside the Prometheus, then another, and another. Within minutes, 12 identical black vessels surrounded the Valorian fleet, all of them equally silent, all of them equally deadly. "The Prometheus is not our only ship," the captain said quietly. "It is our oldest. Our first attempt. We have built better since then." Throck felt defeat settle over him like a heavy cloak. His fleet was surrounded. His weapons were useless. His shields might as well have been paper. He had one card left to play. "If you destroy us, the Galactic Council will send more ships, thousands of them. Your technology is impressive, but you cannot stand against the combined might of 800 civilizations." "You are correct," Captain Chen agreed. "In a direct war, we would eventually be overwhelmed by numbers." "But Admiral, who said anything about direct war? We have been listening to your communications for 50 years. We know which species in your council are allied, which are enemies pretending to be friends, which are on the verge of revolution. We know your supply routes, your defense grids, your command structures." The 12 human ships moved as one, repositioning to create a perfect geometric pattern around the Valorian fleet. "We could destroy your homeworld's orbital infrastructure while you were still organizing a response. We could redirect asteroids to strike your colony worlds. We could phase your military bases out of sync with normal space, trapping them in dimensions where time moves differently. By the time you noticed, your empire could be crippled." "You are bluffing," Throck said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Am I? We spent 50 years preparing for this exact scenario. Every species in your council has been analyzed, every weakness identified, every defense studied and countered. We do not want war, Admiral. We want to be left alone. But if your people force our hand, we will show you why humans became apex predators on a world filled with creatures stronger and faster than ourselves." A new image appeared on Throck's view screen. It showed the Valorian homeworld, detailed down to individual cities and military installations. Defense platforms marked in red, trade hubs in blue, population centers in green. Everything labeled. Everything vulnerable. "This is not a threat," Captain Chen said softly. "It is a fact. We can reach your home faster than you can. Our technology allows us to travel distances you consider impossible. We have mapped every major world in the Galactic Union. We know where your children go to school, Admiral. We know where your leaders sleep at night. We have had 50 years to prepare for you. You have had no time to prepare for us. Throck stared at the image of his homeworld, feeling sick. She was right. The Galactic Council had no defense against this. They had never needed one. Every species they encountered was either equal or inferior in technology. Never superior. Never this far beyond them. What do you want? He asked finally. Go home, Captain Chen replied.
Take your fleet and leave our system.
Return to your council. Tell them exactly what happened here. Tell them about our ships, our weapons, our capabilities, and deliver this message. A data package transmitted to every ship in the fleet simultaneously. Throck opened it, reading the simple message inside. Leave us alone. The Sol system and 50 light years in all directions is now human territory. We will defend it with every resource we possess. We will not attack you. We will not interfere in your politics. We will not seek membership in your council. But if any species crosses our borders, if any fleet enters our space, we will respond with overwhelming force. The message continued with detailed specifications of human weapons, exact locations of border markers, and proposals for diplomatic communication channels that would allow peaceful contact without requiring physical presence. This is our final offer, Captain Chen said. Take it to your leaders. Let them decide if humanity is worth fighting. But remember this, Admiral. Remember how easily we dismantled your fleet. Remember that we have been watching you for 50 years while you knew nothing about us. Remember that the species you called primitive built ships that make your dreadnoughts look like children's toys. The 12 human ships began to fade, becoming transparent. They were phasing out of normal space, preparing to leave. One more thing, Admiral. Captain Chen's voice echoed in the sudden silence. You asked what we are. We are humans. We are the species that walked away from the galaxy to learn its secrets. We are the ones who spent 50 years in the dark, alone and afraid, building weapons we prayed we would never need to use. We are what you made us when you laughed at us and decided to take our home. The human ships vanished completely, leaving the Valorian fleet alone in empty space. Throck sat in his command throne, staring at the place where the Prometheus had been. His fleet was broken. His pride was shattered. Admiral Throck stared at the empty space where the human ships had disappeared. His crew sat in stunned silence. The bridge of his flagship felt like a tomb. Around him, 300 Valorian warships drifted in loose formation. Some damaged, others merely shaken. 15 ships were gone, crushed or destroyed in a battle that had lasted less than 20 minutes. His communication officer broke the silence. Admiral, we are receiving a transmission from the Valorian High Command. They are demanding a status report. Throck almost laughed. A status report. How could he explain what had just happened? How could he tell his superiors that a single human vessel had humiliated the Empire's finest fleet? But as he reached for the communication controls, something changed. The sensors that had been quiet suddenly screamed with activity. Admiral! The tactical officer's voice was sharp with panic. The human ships are returning. All 12 of them. Battle stations? Throck commanded, though he knew it was futile. Raise shields. Prepare for— Sir, they are not attacking. They are just sitting there, waiting. Throck looked at the tactical display. The 12 black vessels had formed a sphere around his fleet, each positioned exactly 3,000 kilometers away. They hung in space like dark stars, motionless and silent. Then Captain Chen's voice filled his bridge again. Admiral Throck, we intercepted your communication with Valorian High Command. We have been monitoring your fleet's transmissions since you entered our system. We know they are ordering you to attack us. We know they are calling your report about our capabilities impossible. We know they think you are lying or cowardly. Throck felt his scales flush with shame. It was true. His superiors had not believed him. They had accused him of fabricating excuses for his failure. They had ordered him to destroy the human ship immediately or face court-martial. Your leaders do not believe we are a threat, Chen continued. They think you exaggerated our power to explain your losses. This is a problem. If they do not believe you, they will send more fleets. More of your people will die. So we are going to give you a demonstration, something impossible to deny, something that will convince even the most skeptical members of your council. What kind of demonstration? Throck asked warily. You came here with 300 ships, Chen said. You will leave with half that number. Not because we want to kill your people, but because your leaders need to understand what they are facing. We will disable 150 of your vessels. We will leave the crews alive but the ships inoperable. You will tow them home as evidence. This is mercy, Admiral. Remember that. You cannot be serious, Throck said. But even as he spoke, he knew she was deadly serious. We are giving you 60 seconds to evacuate non-essential personnel to your remaining ships. Transfer wounded, transfer civilians, transfer anyone who does not need to be on a warship. After 60 seconds, we begin. Throck made a decision. A hard one, but necessary. All ships begin emergency personnel transfer. Medical staff, civilians, non-combat personnel evacuate immediately. Move. His fleet erupted into controlled chaos. Shuttles launched, carrying people between ships. The 60 seconds passed like heartbeats. Time is up, Captain Chen said. The 12 human ships moved as one. They did not fire weapons. They did not launch missiles. They simply existed, and reality bent around them. Throck watched in horror as gravity wells formed around 150 of his ships. Not the crushing force that had destroyed his battlecruiser earlier. This was more precise, more controlled. The targeted vessels found their engines failing, their power systems shorting out, their shields collapsing. Within minutes, 150 Valorian warships were reduced to drifting hulks, alive but helpless. But that was not all the humans did. One of the black ships moved toward a crippled Valorian destroyer. Space around both vessels began to shimmer and fold. Throck's sensors went wild, detecting energy signatures that should not exist. The human ship seemed to merge with the Valorian vessel, passing through its shields, through its armor, through its very structure. What are they doing? Throck demanded. Unknown, sir. The human ship has phased inside our destroyer. It is moving through the ship like it is not even there. The human vessel emerged on the other side of the destroyer, completely undamaged. The Valorian ship was untouched as well, but every system aboard it had been shut down. The crew was safe, but the ship was dead in space. Direct quantum displacement, Captain Chen explained. We can move through solid matter by existing in multiple dimensional states simultaneously. Your shields are designed to stop physical projectiles and energy weapons. They cannot stop something that exists partially outside your universe. Another human ship demonstrated a different capability. It fired a beam of pure darkness at a Valorian cruiser. The beam did not explode on impact. It did not burn through armor. Instead, it simply erased a perfect sphere from the ship's hull, engines, and weapon systems. Matter ceased to exist where the beam touched. One moment there was solid metal. The next there was nothing. Not even debris. Directed dark energy manipulation, Chen said clinically, as if teaching a class. We learned to harness the same force that drives the universe's expansion. When focused and controlled, it can selectively remove matter from existence. No explosion, no heat. The targeted atom simply ceased to be. A third human ship created a bubble of distorted time around a squadron of Valorian frigates. From Throck's perspective, the frigates seemed to slow down, their movements becoming sluggish, their light shifting toward red. Inside the bubble, the frigate crews experienced hours passing in seconds. By the time the effect ended, the ship's life support had depleted. Their fuel was exhausted, and their crews were unconscious from oxygen deprivation. The human ship moved away, leaving the frigates intact but completely helpless. Time dilation fields, Captain Chen continued her demonstration. We can manipulate the flow of time in localized areas. Your ships experienced 72 hours while we experienced 2 minutes. Their systems are intact, but their resources are spent. Throck could only watch as the human ships dismantled his fleet with surgical precision. They were not trying to kill. They were trying to educate. Each disabled ship demonstrated a different technology, a different impossible weapon. Each one proved that humanity had moved far beyond anything the Galactic Union understood. The battle, if it could be called that, lasted 47 minutes. When it ended, 150 Valorian warships drifted helpless in space. The remaining 150 were intact but surrounded by human vessels that could destroy them at will. Captain Chen's voice returned, softer now. Admiral, do you understand now? Do you see why we stopped talking to the galaxy? Throck found his voice. You wanted to hide. To prepare. No, Chen corrected. We wanted to survive. 50 years ago, we detected the first Galactic Council broadcasts. We learned about your empire, your expansion, your history. We saw what you did to primitive species, how you conquered, relocated, managed them like animals in a zoo. We knew that someday you would find us. So we had a choice. We could reveal ourselves and hope for mercy, or we could prepare for the worst. She paused, and Throck heard the weight in her words. We chose to prepare. We took our best scientists, our brightest engineers, our bravest volunteers. We built colony ships in secret and sent them into the dark spaces between galaxies. We went to places so empty, so far from everything that we thought we had died. Some of us did die. The cold, the isolation, the fear of never seeing home again. It broke many of us. Another pause. But we found things in that darkness. Ancient technology. Dead civilizations that had risen and fallen millions of years before your empire existed. We learned from them. We took their knowledge and combined it with our own desperation. We built these ships not because we wanted power, but because we wanted to protect our home, our families, our children, everything we loved. Throck felt something unexpected, understanding, even sympathy. He had children too. A mate, a home he loved. What would he have done in humanity's place? We did not want this war, Chen continued. We do not want your territory. We do not want to conquer anyone. We just want to be left alone. But your council decided we were not worthy of that choice. They decided to take our home because we could not stop them. They were wrong. The 12 human ships began to withdraw, moving back toward Earth. But before they left, Chen spoke one final time. We are giving you a data package, Admiral. It contains full specifications of our weapons, our ships, our defensive capabilities. It contains detailed analysis of how we would respond to various attack scenarios from the Galactic Union. It contains proposals for a peace treaty that would benefit both our species. Take it to your council. Make them understand. A massive data transfer began, flooding the Valorian fleet's computers with information. Throck watched as hundreds of documents, videos, technical schematics, and strategic assessments appeared on his screens. You are giving us intelligence on your defenses? Throck asked, confused. Why would you do that? Because we want peace, not war, Chen replied. We are showing you exactly what you face if you attack us. We are being completely honest about our capabilities. We are hoping that honesty will prevent more bloodshed. Your council can study this data and understand that conquering humanity is impossible. The Galactic Council chamber was in chaos. Representatives from 847 species shouted over each other, their voices creating a cacophony that the translation system struggled to parse. At the center of it all stood Admiral Throck, his forearms hanging limp at his sides, his scales dull with exhaustion. He had been speaking for 3 hours, explaining, describing, defending. Ambassador Kreethak stood at his usual podium, his voice cutting through the noise. Lies, all of it. One primitive species with a single ship cannot defeat 300 warships. Admiral Throck is a coward who ran from a fight and now invents stories to cover his shame. Throck had expected this. He had prepared for it. He activated the holographic display and began playing the recordings. The council fell silent as they watched. The black ships appearing from nothing. The weapons that bent physics. The Valorian warships being crushed, phased through, erased. The clinical precision of humanity's demonstration. Every moment captured by multiple fleet sensors, impossible to fake or deny. When the recordings ended, the chamber remained quiet for a long moment. A delegate from the Crystalline Consortium spoke first, her voice chiming with barely controlled fear. This is impossible. No species should possess such technology. Where did they obtain it? They built it, Throck said tiredly. In the 50 years since we started observing them. While we watched and laughed at their primitive spacecraft, they were building an entirely different kind of vessel in the dark spaces between galaxies. They learned from dead civilizations. They studied physics we have not discovered. They prepared for us. Dead civilizations? Another delegate leaned forward. What dead civilizations? We have explored this galaxy for millions of years. We would have found them. An elder representative of the Sojourner species stood slowly. The Sojourners were among the oldest members of the Council, their species having achieved spaceflight when most others were still in pre-industrial stages. The ancient being's voice was soft but carried to every corner of the chamber. The Dark Walkers, it said simply. The chamber erupted again. Species who had never heard the term demanded explanations. Others, the older ones, fell silent with understanding. The Sojourner continued. Billions of years ago, before most of our species existed, the galaxy was very different. Civilizations rose and fell. Some achieved levels of technology we cannot imagine, but eventually they all faced the same problem. The galaxy became crowded. Resources became scarce. Competition became deadly. The elder paused, letting the words sink in. Some civilizations chose to expand faster, to conquer more, to dominate. They spread like fire and eventually burned themselves out. But others chose differently. They chose to leave. To walk away from the galaxy entirely and seek new frontiers in the voids between spiral arms. In the dark spaces where no stars shine, we call them the Dark Walkers. Species who abandoned the galactic community to explore the empty places. And humanity is one of these Dark Walkers? A delegate asked. No, the Sojourner replied. Humanity is something new. They did not walk away from their home. They sent expeditions into the darkness while keeping their homeworld here. They learned from the Dark Walkers' legacy but remained connected to their origin. This makes them more dangerous than any Dark Walker civilization we have encountered. Krethak slammed his hand on his podium. Dangerous? They are primitives with stolen technology. We should send a real fleet. 10,000 ships. 100,000. We should crush them before they become a genuine threat. With what? Throk asked quietly. The chamber turned to look at him. With what will you defeat them? Throk repeated. Did you not see the recordings? Our energy weapons bent away. Our kinetic weapons passed through them. Our shields were useless. They can phase through solid matter, manipulate gravity, control time itself, and erase matter from existence. How do you fight an enemy who can do these things? We outnumber them, Krethak insisted, do we? Throk pulled up another display. The humans gave us intelligence on their fleet. They have 217 ships like the ones I encountered, each one crewed by volunteers who spent years in the darkness between galaxies. Each one equipped with weapons we cannot defend against, but more importantly, they have surveyed every major world in the Galactic Union. They know our defenses. They know our trade routes. They know where our leaders live. He zoomed the display to show a detailed map of the Valorian homeworld, identical to the one Captain Chen had shown him. This is my home, Throk said. Every defense platform marked, every population center identified, every weakness exposed. The humans have the same level of detail for every major world in the Council. They can strike anywhere before we can respond, and their ships can travel faster than ours. A military strategist from the Korvax Dominion spoke up. You are suggesting we cannot win a war against them? I am suggesting a war would be catastrophic, Throk replied. Yes, eventually we might overwhelm them through sheer numbers. But how many millions would die first? How many worlds would be destroyed? And for what? To conquer one star system that they are willing to defend with everything they have? What about the technology? Another delegate demanded. If we capture one of their ships, we could reverse engineer their weapons. Imagine what the Council could do with such power. The Sojourner Elder laughed, a sound like wind chimes in a storm. You still do not understand. The technology is not the problem. The problem is what the technology represents. Humanity was forced to innovate or die. They were facing an existential threat from us, from our expansion, from our arrogance. Desperation and genius combined to create something unprecedented, the Elder gestured. To the frozen image of the Prometheus on the display, we cannot replicate what they did because we did not face what they faced. We did not spend 50 years in the void, isolated and afraid, building weapons we hoped we would never use. We did not have their motivation, their desperation, their will to survive at any cost. The technology is merely a tool. The real danger is the mind that created it. Silence fell over the chamber once more. The representatives were beginning to understand. Humanity was not just another primitive species to be conquered and managed. They were something new, something that had evolved in response to the Council itself. Krethak made one final attempt. So what do you propose? That we simply accept their demands? That we grant them territory and leave them alone? That we show weakness to a species of primitives? They are not primitives, Throk said firmly, and I propose we do exactly that. We declare the Sol system, and 50 light-years around it a forbidden zone. We establish diplomatic communication channels but maintain no physical presence. We let them have their isolation in exchange for peace. And if they attack us anyway? Krethak challenged. They will not, the Sojourner Elder said with certainty. Did you not listen to their captain? They do not want empire. They do not want to conquer. They want to be left alone. This is not the behavior of an aggressive species. This is the behavior of a terrified one that has been backed into a corner and found the strength to bite back. The debate continued for hours, but the outcome was inevitable. The recordings were impossible to deny. The intelligence the humans had provided was overwhelming. The cost of war was too high and the benefit too small. Finally, the vote was called. By a margin of 612 to 235, The Galactic Council declared the Sol system and surrounding space a forbidden zone. No council ships would enter without explicit human permission. Diplomatic channels would be established, but no embassies would be built. Humanity would be left alone. Ambassador Krethak stormed from the chamber in fury. Other delegates followed, some satisfied, others fearful. But the decision was made. Throck remained behind, watching as the elder sojourner approached him. "You did well, Admiral," the ancient being said. "You told the truth even when it would have been easier to lie." "I had no choice," Throck replied. "Too many of my crew saw what happened. The truth would have emerged eventually. Perhaps. But you showed wisdom in how you presented it. You did not sensationalize. You did not exaggerate. You simply showed what happened and let the council decide. That took courage." The sojourner paused, looking at the frozen image of Earth on the display. "I wonder what they are doing now. Down on that blue world. Do you think they are celebrating their victory?" Throck considered the question. He remembered Captain Chen's voice, the weariness in it, the sadness. "No," he said finally. "I do not think they are celebrating. I think they are relieved, and perhaps a little sad that it came to this." Far away on Earth, Captain Sarah Chen stood in the command center of the New Geneva facility. Around her, holographic displays showed the Galactic Council's decision being transmitted across the Union. Forbidden zone. Diplomatic channels established. Peace. Her crew cheered. Some cried. Others simply collapsed in their chairs, exhausted from years of tension and preparation. Chen did not celebrate. She walked to the window and looked up at the night sky, seeing stars that held billions of living beings. Beings who now feared humanity. Beings who would never trust them. "Did we do the right thing?" her first officer asked quietly, joining her at the window.